Hey guys, today we're going to continue on with our, cooking without eggs. This book, it's a Grassroots survival company cookbook of memories, remedies, and recipes from the 1929 to 1980s Great Depression. This cookbook's crazy. I love it. It's got a lot of good little tips and stuff. It's Grassroots. The people that designed it, awesome. They did a great job. So I wrote down a few recipes that took my interest that I wanted to try. This was one of them, and I keep coming back to it. So I thought today, let's make chocolate mayonnaise cookies. Sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? Okay, on page 86, it has chocolate mayonnaise cookies, okay? So what we're going to do, we're going to cream together our mayonnaise, our sugar, and our cocoa right quick. Then we're going to add some chopped nuts and raisins, some soda and boiling water, and then we're going to add our flour and our salt and our vanilla, and we're going to make drop cookies and cook them in the oven for 15 minutes at 325. So we're going to try this. This is a Great Depression. And the reason you're using mayonnaise is because limited eggs, limited oil. Mayonnaise is made from eggs and oil. So you can use it in the place of those two items, and we're going to try it. Mayonnaise in a cookie? I'd have never thought it, but let's see what it tastes like. Okay, guys? Okay, we're going to walk through this process right quick. At first, it calls for 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. So I've got blue plate. I've got many things, but I didn't have the 3/4 right quick. So what we're going to do, this is a half. I'm going to fill it and then go a little above it. Okay, so that's half. That should be 3/4. If you've got the 3/4, I just saw this one handy right quick, and I'm always guesstimating anyway. So that's about 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. All right, to that we're going to add 1 cup of sugar. To that, we're adding cocoa. It calls for 1 tablespoon of cocoa. And I do a heaping tablespoon and a little more for good measure because I like cocoa. Okay, so we have our mayonnaise, our sugar, and our cocoa. I'm telling you guys, mayonnaise and cookies just doesn't sound right, but we're going to do this. I'm going to play around with it together. Great Depression cooking. If it works, might have found a new recipe. And as always, I love experimenting with you guys, so you get to see my reaction at the end, because I never try anything till I try it in front of y'all. So that's the first part. Now we're going to add 1 cup of boiling water, and you can see the steam coming off of it. We're going to add a cup of nuts and raisins, and we're going to add 1 teaspoon of soda. So here's our teaspoon of soda, and we're going to mix this around. It looks like a chocolate nut raisin mix right now. Okay, to this we're going to be adding 2 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So let's go with the flour. There's 1. There's 2. Salt and vanilla. I just do a cap. It says a teaspoon, but that's it. And this is the real vanilla from Mexico. Good stuff there, guys. I hope I'm not wasting it on this chocolate conglomerate mixture of mayonnaise cookies. Okay, so it says to mix it together. And you can actually bake this as a bar or drop cookies, as wet as it is. Unless it firms up, this will not make cookies. Because see, this is not cookie dough consistency. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to add a little bit, half a cup more flour and just a touch more sugar because it is so wet, to absorb some of the moisture. And so we don't overpower it. Now then, we're going to see if that makes it. It may still be kind of wet. I don't see making a drop cookie out of this. See, it's still too wet for a drop cookie. So we're turning it into brownies, mayonnaise brownies. How about that? It's not going to be cookies anymore. It's what you do when all else fails and things look weird. You change it. And it still looks more like a brownie mixture. So we're going to change it from cookies to brownies because the recipe says bake in an 8x8x2 pan or make drop cookies. So we're going to make brownies, guys. With all recipes, now this is like an older book, and I'm not sure, just looking at it, it says to bake at 325 for 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, if I'm making a brownie type substance, I don't think 325 is going to work. So I up the oven to 350. And in 15 minutes, we're going to check it. If it's not done, we're going even longer because I know to cook things like this sometimes takes a lot longer. Not sure what kind of stoves they had, things like that, so, and how they judge temperature, you know. So with any kind of recipe, you have to kind of play around with it and judge for yourselves. And as I said, I started out wanting cookies. Now I'm getting brownies, or some semblance of brownies. So mayonnaise brownies, that's even worse than cookies, I think, but we shall see. I'm going to put it in the oven. We're going to watch it. We're going to see how long it takes. And like I say, these are older books, and the stoves that cook in, they could have been cooking on a wood stove, guessing at the temperature for all I know. So we're just going to watch it at what I think a brownie should be cooked at and about how long, and we're going to see how they turn out. While I'm waiting for my mayonnaise brownie mixture that should have been cookies to go, they have another recipe here for mayonnaise cookies that looks more like it would be a cookie dough consistency. So we're going to try this one also. This was a second recipe that I wanted to try. It should make just plain, almost like butter cookies, only it's mayonnaise cookies. Okay, so we're going to have 1 cup of mayonnaise, 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. That's what we're going to add to the cookies this time. So that way I have cookies and brownies. Chocolate mayonnaise brownies, mayonnaise cookies. Y'all, this is really getting weird. Okay, for this cookie recipe, we're going to be doing 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of mayonnaise. So this is my cup thing. We're going to put it in here. That should be a good full cup of mayonnaise. Okay. We need a cup of sugar. And I'm doing a really good full cup because I'm wondering about the mayonnaise and the flavor, guys. Let's add a touch more just for good measure. Then we want the soda. So, okay, we got 1 teaspoon of soda. We need half a teaspoon of salt. And we need a teaspoon of vanilla. we're just going to mix this together, and that's all it calls for, which will give us a cookie-like consistency when I get this mixed together. And the mayonnaise takes the place of the eggs and the oil and kind of gives it a buttermilk texture, I guess you would say, because lots of the old recipes call for buttermilk. It's getting to that stage where it's hard to maneuver with a spoon. So in order to get it all mixed up like it should, always use your hands if you have to. My granny did all the time. Now this is looking more like a sugar cookie. And I'm thinking if I need a touch more oomph, a touch more mayonnaise would work to wetten it on up if you need it to make a cookie, but it's holding together pretty well. So I'm thinking it calls for making little balls and flattening out. So that's what we're fixing to do. Okay guys, it talks about making little small balls. So this is what I do. I take about a good tablespoon and I mash it together really well, because that way it holds together. And then I just make a small ball. We're putting it on our cookie sheet over here. When we get through with that, we're gonna mash them out a little. It says to mash them out with a glass jar coated in sugar on the bottom. But what I'm thinking is I'm just going to mash them out and sprinkle a little sugar across the top. The cookies are real thin and crisp. They kind of laid out flat, just kind of run. So taking them up, they broke. But most of them stayed together. They got a good brown crust. Held together really well, kind of like a really thin sugar cookie. So we're going to see what the mayonnaise cookie tastes like. Just like any other thin butter cookie, tastes perfect. So mayonnaise cookies is a plus. So the mayonnaise cookies, if you're out of eggs and you have mayonnaise and you just need to use up some mayonnaise in your storage, or you just don't have eggs or something, you can make this recipe. Works fine. Let's try what was going to be chocolate mayonnaise cookies now is a brownie. The way the batter mixed up, let's go to the brownie that we ended up making, or brown cake. We used this. It's a cookbook of memories, remedies, and recipes from the 1920s to the 1980s Great Depression. And the recipe for this, it called chocolate cookies, or you could make it into bars like this. The recipe called for cooking at 325 for 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, that would not have gotten this done. I knew that before going in, so I turned the oven on to 350 and it baked about 30-35 minutes. And it looks like a brownie or a cake, a chocolate cake, whatever you want to call it. We're going to cut some, see what it looks like, and see how it comes out. I can already tell you there's a chocolate piece there. Okay, I'm gonna lay it up here. Basically it fell apart, but it looks like a chocolate cake. Smells like a chocolate cake, and it's still hot. That may be why it fell apart. Tastes like a chocolate cake, exactly like either just a fudge chocolate cake or a, what do you call it, a German chocolate cake, something like that. Perfect. Mayonnaise brownies, that's what I'll call it, or cake, and mayonnaise cookies, both work. And when you're cooking from anything from the Great Depression era, remember, their stoves, their cooking times, their temperatures could vary because they were having to watch them and they were guessing. Ours are more precise, and if you're used to cooking a cake at 325 or 350 or 375, know that when you read these older recipes, you may have to adjust your cooking times and your cooking temperatures to match the modern stoves and things that you use today. Hope you enjoyed these recipes for mayonnaise cookies and mayonnaise, I guess we're going to call them brownies, from the Great Depression. Thank you guys from Crazy Days.